My spouse is a pet hoarder, new updates over a 2-year span. It's 6 a.m. and the roosters have been crowing non-stop for the last 2 hours in our sunroom adjacent to our bedroom. I'm now sitting in the basement as flies swarm around me, and I've given up swatting them because there's too many to bother. The basement is the area of the house with the least amount of flies. On top of the rooster noise is the cackle of male quail that reside in our living room. They live in the base of 3 cages that are filled with budgies and cockatiel. When I wake up, I remember to put on my slippers, and I hope I get to them before stepping in dog urine or fresh dog shit. Our carpet in our master bedroom is saturated in dog urine with many spots that haven't dried out yet. Yesterday, my wife bought our daughter a new tortoise and a frog. The tortoise will be added to the aquarium with our bearded dragon. The bearded dragon, which is often free to roam the house because my wife feels it will be happier. It is free to poop on our furniture or floor or where it was left out last. As I sit here in my basement, the one place where I do not allow any pets, I'm listening to a rabbit thumping its paws on the floor above me, or it's the sound of it biting and ripping apart our wall or furniture. I'm not sure which noise it is, but I don't care anymore. We have at least 6 rabbits. Their little claws make a loud scraping and tapping noise as they scurry and hop across our laminate floors. The main level of our home is littered in rabbit droppings. The droppings get pushed to the side as our 4 children and us inadvertently kick them around while walking through the main level of our home. The dogs won't likely get let out this morning to go to the bathroom. The smaller dog doesn't even obey the command to go out anymore. He just stares at you confused by your directive. If he does go outside, he just comes back in to find a place to shit and pee in one of our bedrooms. Our backyard doesn't have much dog shit because it's mostly in our bedrooms. It will stay there for days on end because there is no expectation that it shouldn't be there. The new smell from the giant rug I bought for the basement has worn off. It smelled like glue and dye, and it drowned out the odors from the dozen chickens that reside in our family and living room. They live in a couple 36-inch fabric pop-up enclosures filled with pine shavings. It is saturated with chicken shit and urine and has soaked into our oak hardwood floors, permanently damaging them. The stench is eye-watering. We have a lot of feathered friends here. In our master bedroom are 3 more cages with a variety of exotic birds that sing loudly all day long and leave a permanent mess of seeds on the floor around the cages. They are free to roam, and so our room has droppings along our bed's headboard, on our pillows, along the sides of the doors where they perch, in our bathroom mirrors and down our shower curtains. Our sunroom has 30-plus chickens, and about 8 or 10 of them are roosters, and the roosters crow all day. This is where the flies breed. They come in through the 40-year-old sliding door that is often left open. This door separates the sunroom from our living area and our kitchen. The flies swarm in, and at any given time, there are dozens of flies in our living space. The heat and humidity bake the sunroom floor, which is covered in chicken shit and urine, and the odor spreads through the house. Our house is in a suburban neighborhood. We do not live on a farm. In addition to these animals, we have 2 pet rats. They are sweet, but as you would expect, their cage is not well maintained, and it stinks 90% of the time. Our boys' room has a snake and axolotl aquarium. One of our daughters has an algae-covered fish aquarium that we fill with water whenever we hear the filter screech because the water evaporated too low. She also has an unkept cage with a hamster that is rarely played with. Right now I'm listening to the mice eat through the foam board insulation in my basement. I want to get rid of them, but it's challenging with all the access to feed throughout the house. They seem to be breeding and entering through the home at a faster pace than they can be exterminated. I am not a pet person, and this life is driving me nuts. My wife is a pet hoarder and has ADHD. Our backyard is a ghost town of quail cages from last year when she was really into quail breeding, and we had over 150 living in our backyard. Now there remains broken and half-built cages and mounds of shavings and wood chips that she intended to use as bedding. Scattered in random places in our backyard are household garbage bags of chicken shit. When you try to lift them, they fall apart because they weigh 30 to 40 pounds and the bags have deteriorated from the sun. When challenged, she seems to delight in the frustration it causes me because she is not happy in our marriage. It seems that accumulating animals is bringing her little bits of dopamine with each acquisition. I'm tired of living like this, and I don't know what to do. Our children think this behavior is acceptable, and they often chide at me for not being on board with the animals. They say I'm not a pet person. It's true that I'm actually not a pet person. But what we have going on here is irresponsible, unsanitary, and illegal. This is pet cruelty and normalizing neglect of animals. Edit. People think this is a shit post, but it's real. I'm not uploading pics for privacy, but it's genuine. I wrote it in this style just to express everything because it's distressing and aggravating, and I haven't expressed it to anyone. I'm seriously asking for advice. It slipped out of control. The amount of pushback from my wife when I address the problems creates a lot of tension and distresses the children. She just keeps bringing home animals. The last time I threatened to rehome the chickens that she was keeping in the house, she became extremely angry and combative. She rehomed them, but not after a slew of insults and claiming I was being totally unreasonable. Then she just slips back into the same behaviors because she never believed it was a problem in the first place. We've had a company come to our house, but no one has called CPS or animal control yet. Seeing all these reactions has me realizing just how bad it is from an outside perspective, and a CPS call is a serious possibility, and that is terrifying. End edit. Wife is an animal hoarder update. Year and a half later. Some of you may remember my post venting and looking for advice on what to do in regards to an extreme animal hoarding situation with my wife. Dozens of chickens residing in the home and a variety of animals roaming outside of cages in the home, feces, and a rampant mice infestation. After posting, I sought therapy and started getting my bearings straightened out. In the midst of setting firm boundaries and beginning the work to clean up literally 2 tons of chicken shit, sand and pine shavings, and resolving the rodent problem, a call to CPS was made by a third party and an investigation ensued. Believe it or not, by that time, much of the situation was resolved, animals rehomed, home cleaned and sanitized. Nothing came of the CPS investigation, and it was pretty quickly closed out. However, the relationship was essentially permanently damaged as my wife continued to deny the problem was out of hand. Deep resentment developed towards each other. Fast forward nearly 12 months, and my wife requested a divorce. We are now separated, awaiting an official legal divorce. I have moved into a very nice home and have the kids 50/50ths. My physical and mental health has dramatically improved. My kids now have an organized and clean haven. They seem happy. It seems inevitable she may lose custody of the kids at some point altogether. I'm hoping she can keep things in check, but due to the constant denial that there was a problem, it will most likely repeat. I may have no choice but take steps to ensure the children's safety at some point, further disrupting the children's lives from their otherwise loving mother. Limitations on pet quantities and cleanliness standards are written into the divorce settlement agreement. By the way, wife has been in therapy for a couple years in the midst of the hoarding. I guess you could say the therapist was either not savvy to the situation or enabling to an irresponsible level. I'm leaning towards the latter. She became more and more emboldened that I was causing her problems as opposed to looking inward. Her therapist seemed to fuel the delusions as far as I could tell. Anyway, thanks for all your advice and getting me to wake up to the madness I contributed to through inaction. New updates. I called CPS and am having regrets about it, 6 months after last update. My soon-to-be ex-wife has a bit of an animal obsession, but otherwise is a loving and attentive mother. We share 50/50 custody of 4 children. When we split up last year, I had worked really hard to get the house cleaned up, helped to rehome dozens of animals, and eradicate a mice infestation before moving out. Since then, she has collected dozens of animals again, and the home reeks of animal urine. My oldest child has reported that the mice have returned. There is so much animal feed around the property and inside the home that wild mice have endless food supplies. The dogs are not potty trained, and every caged animal cannot be cleaned regularly enough to keep the odors at bay. When I got the kids for the week, all their belongings, clothing had the strongest pungent odor of dirt and urine. My home is clean and smells fresh, and the kids' belongings made my whole house stink. 2 of my kids are wearing the same clothes day and night for multiple days at a time. I called CPS based on my attorney's advice, and I feel awful about it. It feels and looks vindictive, even though that is not my intent. I feel like garbage and like I'm betraying my kids' mom's trust. I want to co-parent amicably, and I feel like this will take away from that. At the same time, she has a problem that is interfering with raising our children in a safe and sanitary environment. Also, my kids love having all the animals. Granted, they love them, but they don't recognize the amount of time and cost to properly care for them. They just like the excitement of having a bunch of pets/animals. This is going to also strain my relationship with the kids to a degree. They don't realize that 1, the animals cannot possibly be cared for adequately. 2, that they are going to school stinking to high heaven. 3, that the home is a health concern for them. 4, they see me as the mean dad that wants to take away all their precious animals which are a part of the family. Part of me is just scared of my soon-to-be ex-wife. Like actually afraid for my safety, lol. I don't know if she knows yet, and part of me wants to go over to her house and help her again clean up and tell her again to rehome the animals. I know this is not realistic as it was the primary source of our arguing in our home when we were together. I told her before moving out that I would always expect that her home be sanitary and not overrun by pets again, but that I would be amicable and fair in our divorce process. Now it just feels like I'm being petty in the process of a difficult divorce, even though logically it's not true, but I can't help shake a yucky feeling about calling CPS. Update. 1 day after last update. Update. I continued feeling uneasy all day and a bit panicked that before CPS came that she would be able to conceal, hide, or talk her way out of the situation. I started feeling like I would come out looking worse and the kids would not get a clean home out of the call. CPS talked to all of my kids while at school today. My 3 little ones all reported that they are all fine from what I could tell. I did not pry or ask for more details of their conversation, but just generally asked if the interview was okay and how they felt about it. They all seemed fine and like it was discreet and no big deal. However, my oldest child's visit from the agent was separate as he goes to middle school. He spilled all the beans and complained heavily about the unsanitary conditions in great detail. I did not tell him, warn him, or coach him in any way whatsoever. In fact, I try to not even complain about the home to them as there is nothing they can do about it, and it therefore would not be helpful. It would only cause them stress. He detailed that he asked his mom to buy a new $10 shirt, and she told him no, she doesn't have the money. He then told the CPS agent that 2 days later, he saw her come home with tons of new chickens and animal supplies. Ouch. I'm saddened that he has been living in those conditions. I feel bad that their mom was probably humiliated by that story being retold to her. My son corroborated every complaint. The only reason I know what he told the agent was that their mom called him tonight and was quizzing him on his interview. I overheard everything he said as I was cleaning the kitchen, and he was right there boldly telling his mom all the things he told the agent. I didn't even know he was interviewed today, as we had a full afternoon of driving to kids' activities and making dinner, rushing to do all the parenting things. Anyway, I am relieved that there was corroboration, and it sounds like this may light a fire under their mom to again make some changes. I feel like this could end up being a regular cycle in the years to come. I hope she hangs in there, finds the courage to recognize there is a legitimate issue, and work to get better. I haven't been reached out to by CPS yet, but I suspect to get a call soon, and I hope they are able to convince her that changes have to be made. Relevant comments. Sensitive. Echo. 7782. You did the right thing. Did you offer to help her before calling? Many times when it's a breakup, the dad leaves cause behavior, etc. of the partner. But you leave the kids. If it is horrible for you and you leave, why leave the kids? Imagine what kids must be going through at school. Surprise, school hasn't reported the situation. OOP. I didn't offer to help clean up. I feel like offering to help clean up would be enabling when what really needs to happen is finding homes for the animals, and that would be entirely offensive to her. She fought me bitterly while we lived together over her right to keep the animals. I really want to help clean up the house to help her, but I cannot do that if she is not willing to address the core issue. OOP commented on a post titled, "My ex's home," that we used to share with our kids, is really filthy, which concerns someone going through almost the same thing and offers small updates. OOP's comment, over 2 years since last update. This is challenging and I don't have a perfect answer, but I do have experience with this same issue. My kid's mom had dozens of animals, including birds not in cages, that were not potty trained, not properly cared for nor cleaned up afterwards. When I would pick up my kids, they would be wearing the same clothes as they were dropped off in a week earlier. My entire home would smell like urine just from their belongings they would bring over. It was sad, alarming, and maddening. It left me with no choice but to get authorities involved. The problem is that the co-parent may not see it as a problem, so they may villainize you for raising an alarm. If there is any way to amicably have a conversation about your concerns for your children's health and social well-being, then do it. I would exhaust myself trying to first have conversations that express concern. If changes are not made, I would escalate it to let them know that the kid's health is a concern and you may make a call to authorities if needed. Just bear in mind this escalation that will result in permanently affecting your co-parenting relationship. They will likely retaliate, become more difficult in every way possible. It's easier for people to react in this way than to get proper mental health and take accountability. I'm about 3 years from when the situation was at its worst, and I don't regret calling authorities. If anything, I'm still frustrated that she put me and the kids in a situation where that was our only option to enact a change. My comment is to provide you with validation and reassurance that you can get through it. Try to keep the relationship amicable. Document the concerns and take pictures if needed because your co-parent is likely to deny and downplay the legitimacy of your concerns. Keep it civil and fact-based and focus on the kids and not being vindictive towards your co-parent. Best of luck. They'll still grow. What did calling the authorities result in? OOP. We had guidelines regarding quantity of pets and cleanliness standards written into our custody agreement. Neighbors also began calling in to make complaints about the dogs barking, chickens getting out. Home is in a suburban neighborhood, not a farm. Between visits from CPS and animal control, things have improved.